Welcome to Run, Jump, Stomp for the week of April 28th, 2015. I'm Bill, your host, and this week we're going to be talking about Valve, Blizzard, some sports fans, as well as the Booyaa, and a little bit of Mario Kart. That's all coming up, plus wish listed this week on Run, Jump, Stomp. Okay, the big story this week is from Valve. Earlier this week, Valve came out, actually last weekend, Valve came out and said that they were going to start allowing modders to charge for their work. Now, just a little background, sometimes games will allow people to make changes to the game. And those changes that somebody might make to the game are called mods. A very good example of this is Skyrim. Skyrim allows mods, and those mods can often really improve the game that they're a part of. So Valve said, we want to be able to pay our modders for their work. And you know what? I'm all for paying modders for their work. But then the details of the deal came out. They started with 19 mods, and in a few days they netted about $10,000. Not each, but like overall. The issue that we ran, that everybody is upset about, and people are very upset about this, is that, first off, the modder, which the whole reason that Valve said that they wanted to do this was to reward the modders for their work. One of the biggest issues here is that the modder only takes back 25% of the money made from the sale. The rest is split between Valve and Bethesda. 30% of it goes to Valve, and 45% goes to Bethesda. One of the main issues here is that, let's give an example. Bethesda's Skyrim has a terrible user interface. On the PC, you can download a mod called SkyUI, which improves that interface. Now, why should Bethesda spend time working on a good user interface if they can get paid from the community by having a modder change the interface and improve it, and then sell that mod, giving Bethesda 45% of the money that's earned from that mod that fixes, I won't say a broken game, but a less than optimal user interface. So right away, I can see where people would be upset about this. You ship something that's not very good, the community fixes it for you, and then you get money from that. This is going to incentivize people leaving things out of the game so that modders will put them into the game, and then they get paid extra for them on top of the sale of the game. Another reason that people were unhappy with this is because we're going to start attracting people who just want to make a mod so they can make a quick buck. So they'll come in, they'll make a small mod that probably does almost nothing, charge very little money for it, only to get people to buy the mod. And then the mod won't have any real value. So you're going to have the mod market flooded with lots and lots of, I won't say crappy mods, but things that people really don't want. And you don't know until you buy it. And would they let you return it? So that was another reason why people were unhappy with it. A third reason was that one Skyrim mod was taken down because somebody said, hold on now, I made that mod and this other guy is selling it. So now we've got some legal questions where people aren't sure who is actually the owner of the mod. And as a small mod owner, somebody who makes this for fun, are they going to have the money in order to sue somebody who is just grabbing a bunch of mods, selling them for a profit, and then running? I don't know that they're going to do that. Another thing that you have to worry about is mods are usually experimental. You get a mod and it's free. It didn't cost you anything, so who cares if it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, you delete it. You go back to what you were doing before. But if you pay for a mod, then you expect it to work really well. And if it doesn't, then you're going to want your money back, and this is going to cause all kinds of problems. So people were pretty unhappy with Valve's announcement. Now, Gabe Newell, who is the CEO and founder of Valve, he did an AMA, which is an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. I read through the thread, and I was hopeful that he would actually respond to the community. But it seems like the only reason he did the AMA was so that he could say that he did respond to the community, or so he could use the AMA as an opportunity to shift blame onto Bethesda by saying over and over that the game maker sets the percent cut that the mod developer gets. He said this on multiple times rather than answering multiple questions. He did answer a few questions, though, but most of them were ridiculous. Like, some people would ask a question like, "Are you a traitor?" And he took time to answer that instead of answering an important question. Or somebody else asked, "What are you drinking right now?" And he said that he was having a tea of some kind. So it felt to me like he wasn't really taking it seriously. He ignored important questions like, how is Valve going to address the fact that people are stealing each other's mods and selling them for money? One person stated that the whole situation is messed up, and Newell responded to that. He said, "You have to be more specific if you want me to do anything about it." And totally ignoring the plethora of posts all around it that were very specific about what people wanted. One was from a user named Darian on Reddit. He said he outlined some very specific problems with the system. I'm just going to read what he said. He said, "From a practical perspective, the problems that I have with it are these. The most popular mods right now, including Sky UI, are mods that fix bad game design in the original game. Sky UI is going to go behind a paywall, and it promotes bad design in games and rewards the developers for fixes the community makes." He said that a lot more concisely than I did. I should have just read that to begin with. The share the modders get is way too low. 25% is a joke. He also said that there's stolen content. Modders now need to spend a portion of their time skimming the workshop to make sure that their mods aren't being hosted without their permission. It's hurting the mod community directly. People are taking down their mods that have been free for years on sharing sites like Nexus, which is a place where you can go to get mods for Skyrim, and among other games, because they're worried about others using their mod without permission, or they're doing so in protest, or they're doing so in preparation to put it behind a paywall. There is no guarantee these mods will be supported and will work with our games after updates, which is acceptable if they're free, not so much if we paid for them. Newell ignored this very concise set of statements and decided to answer questions about why would you capitalize mod instead. One of his responses was as follows. He said, "Let's assume for a second that we are stupidly greedy. So far, the paid mods have generated $10,000 total. That's like 1% of the cost of the incremental email of the program that has generated for Valve employees. Yes, I mean, and I'm going to paraphrase here, angering the internet costs you $1 million in just a couple of days. That's not stupidly greedy, that's stupidly stupid. You need a more robust Valve is evil hypothesis." So what he's essentially saying is, we're not making a bunch of money on this anyway. I don't see why you're all upset, which is basically a non-response at best and blatant misdirection at worst. They're going to make buckets of money on this unless the community doesn't pay up. At least they were going to. It seems like they've decided to listen. They went ahead, and the next day after I read that, they posted, we understand the differences. Pardon me. He said, we understand the differences between our previously successful revenue-sharing models and the addition of paid mods to Skyrim's workshop. We understand our own game communities pretty well, but stepping into an established years-old modding community in Skyrim was probably not the right place to start iterating. We think this made us miss the mark pretty badly, even though we believe there's a useful feature here somewhere. Now that you've backed up a dump truck of feedback into our inboxes, we'll be chewing through that. But if you have any further thoughts, let us know. So, I'm happy that they listened to the community, but I almost feel like they're probably just going to do it again another way. Hopefully, a lot of people said, if you want to support the modders, just put a donate button on a mod, and that'll let people get that money. Which is what they said was their goal. All right, Heart of Thorns. It's the first expansion to Guild Wars 2, which is a fantastic game. If you've not played it, definitely check it out. But Heart of Thorns closed beta is about to begin today. On a press release, they said that April 28th, heroes adventuring in the Maguma Waste, which is a zone of the game, have a chance to find a mysterious portal to the heart of Maguma Jungle. Looting one of these special trophy items grants you access to the next Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns PvE closed beta event. Now, the way that Guild Wars 2 has done their beta in the past is they will usually have it for like a weekend where you can play from this time to this time. And the reason that they do that is so that they have a very high population all on at the same time. And they can also limit where people are, so they can say, all right, well, you can play in this zone at this time, and that's really going to hammer that one area really well, and so they can really get good feedback from that. They also said, for a limited time only, rare portals will drop from enemies in Dry Top and the Silver Waste. Portals can't be traded between players, so bring your friends along to hunt for their very own. Don't worry if your portal gets misplaced in a sandstorm or devoured by a passing Ravager. Beta access will be flagged upon looting the item, and is not required to claim participation. Alright, so first off, I absolutely love that this is how they're getting people into the beta. Come play the game more often, and if you're one of those people that plays the game all the time, you're going to be rewarded for that by most likely having a first shot at getting into the beta. So I think that they're doing that a really, really good way, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the Heart of Thorns expansion. Sunday night, my wife and I are getting ready to watch Game of Thrones. Fantastic show. Love it. If you haven't watched it, watch it. But she was taking care of some stuff around the house, and I decided to open up Twitch. Actually, I opened up Twitch because I don't have cable. So here's what was really happening. I saw on Twitter that people were posting that there was Heroes of the Dorm Finals. Now, for those of you that don't know, Heroes of the Storm is a... Blizzard won't call it a MOBA, but it's a MOBA. Multiplayer Online Battle Arena. They call it a brawler, whatever that means. It's a MOBA. That's what it is. So, it's a MOBA, and Heroes of the Dorm is a... I want to say... I almost said contest, but it's a tournament. So, it's a tournament where the winners get free college tuition, which is awesome. That is absolutely fantastic. Well, the reason that I'm talking about this is because the finals were on Sunday, and they were broadcast on ESPN 2. I'm not a sports ball guy. I don't watch sports. I don't have cable because I can get everything else off the internet through iTunes or wherever. I can understand why sports people would would want cable, but I don't have it, and that's really beside the point. I kind of went off on a tangent there. Here's the thing. This was really, really fun to watch. So I watched a few matches to see what was happening. And I've played the game before. I really enjoy the game. I would not say that I'm good at it. But here's the deal. Lots of people are upset that it was on ESPN. Now, I can understand why people would be upset that this is on ESPN, because even though it's called eSports, and I'll probably anger people, please let me know if I'm angering you, okay? Even though it's called eSports, I really don't consider it to be a sport. Is it competitive? Yes. Is it intense? Of course. Is it fun to watch? Yes. But it's not athleticism. But then again, other things that are on ESPN2, like poker, that's not a sport. Here's the thing, is people are really upset that this was on ESPN2, or at least, you know, some people who are vocal about it. Just a few things that from Twitter. ESPN2 right now should be changed to ESPN 8 the Ocho. Why is this on gaming TV? I think that was ESPN 8 the Ocho. Wasn't that from Dodgeball, the movie? I think so. I'm not positive. Somebody else said that I'd make fun of whatever is on PS2, but I can't turn away from it. And that's really the big takeaway for me, is I never really thought I would enjoy watching people play a video game online, but man, the announcers were fantastic. Another thing from Twitter says, another tweet from Twitter says, I don't know what's happening on ESPN2, but I can't stop watching, and I want these announcers for everything. Now, the announcers were great. They explained in detail what was happening with the game in real time. As things were happening, they would explain what was going to happen, what people should do, and then pointed out the mistakes that the players made. It was really exciting to watch. It was very, very intense and very fun. What do you think? Do you think that it should be on ESPN? I know that Colin Cowherd, who, as a guy who doesn't watch sports, I don't know who that is, but he said, here's a quote from him. He's a sports announcer. He said, here's what's going to get me off the air. If I'm ever forced to cover guys playing video games, I'll retire and move to a rural fishing village and sell bait. You want me out? Demand video game tournaments on ESPN, because that's what appeared on ESPN2 yesterday. Now, I can't say that he's wrong, that that it doesn't belong on ESPN2, but that's not all he said. He also was pretty insulting to people who played video games. He said, lock your mom's basement and don't let these people out. So he's kind of a jerk about it, but I don't know if it belongs on ESPN2. If only there were a channel dedicated to video games. Oh wait, there used to be a channel dedicated to video games, and then they decided to show old episodes of Cops and things like that. G4, this is where you went wrong. The Booyaa is putting it, the gaming company Booyaa is putting itself up for sale. The CEO, Julie Ehrman, sorry, I had trouble reading that name. Julie Ehrman sent a memo to her investors and this month, saying that the company did not satisfy its investors' condition, and they're talking about renegotiating debt that had been unsuccessful, and they're looking for expressions of interest by the end of the month. So apparently they're going to be up for sale. I really don't find this a big surprise. For those of you that don't know, the Booyaa is basically a small little Android device, and it has a controller. Now, this little tiny Android device you hook up to your TV, and you can play Android games on your TV, which sounds cool, But most of these games are not designed with that type of interface in mind. They're designed with touchscreen. And of course they're going to be designed for touchscreen because they're phone games. So this is basically letting you play phone games up on your TV. My guess is the ones that did sell were sold because the device was supposed to be very, very hackable, so you'd be able to run emulation on it. The problem is the controller, from what I've heard, I haven't actually used one, the controller was not very good. And the buttons didn't feel very good, and it wasn't very responsive. So the fact that this company is now up for sale is not terribly surprising for me. This week on the long play, I played some Mario Kart 8 DLC. If you're not familiar with it, this DLC actually is the second set of DLC to come out for Mario Kart 8. This one includes 3 characters: Isabelle from Animal Crossing, Villager from Animal Crossing, and Dry Bowser, who is basically a skeleton version of Bowser. He looks really, really cool. When you get a good boost, his shell glows all red like it's really hot from... because he's from a game where Bowser falls into lava and comes out as a skeleton. It also has 8 new tracks and a couple new karts. Now, that aside, the thing that I was looking forward to most is the fact that they included 200 cc's. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Mario Kart, and if you're not, you should be, every game has always had different cc's or speeds that you play at. They always start at 50, 100, 150, and then they'll always throw in like the mirror mode, so you're racing backwards instead. 200 cc. I thought, okay, I didn't expect to be competitive when playing the game at 200 cc, but when I tried 200 cc, like, I was in the wall every time. They said you have to know how to brake, and I don't think I've ever hit the brake button in a Mario Kart game ever for any reason except maybe to back up because I went into a wall when I was first playing it or something, or maybe the cat jumped on my lap and I wasn't sure. So this is a totally different game. I'm not really sure that I like 200cc. It doesn't feel like Mario Kart. That being said, if you want to try this for the challenge, even if you don't want to try 200cc, the DLC pack is worth it. It's cheap, and the new tracks are really great. They've got an F-Zero track in there. They've got an Animal Crossing track in there, where every time you load it up, it's a different season of the year. It's just really fun, and I highly recommend that you check out that DLC. Nintendo really is doing a good job with their DLC. They're giving you a lot of value for the money that you're spending, and I appreciate that, and I wish other companies would do DLC like Nintendo is. Alright, last week on the long play, I think it was last week, recently, I talked about Xenoblade Chronicles 3D on my 3DS and how I wasn't sure if I was really into it. I'm still not positive, but I did play it a bit more this week and I did have fun with it. The combat is starting to click with me. I'm not sure why it's taken me so long to really get the combat to really work for me, but I'm coming around. Now, earlier this week, Nintendo had a Treehouse video, and for those of you that don't know, Treehouse is basically Nintendo's PR firm, it seems like. My phone's going off. Stop it, phone. So it's like their PR firm. They'll go out and they'll show gameplay and answer questions about Nintendo games that are coming out. And they showed Xenoblade Chronicles X for the Wii U. And this Treehouse video really changed my mind about the combat. I'm still getting used to it because I haven't had a lot of time to play it, but watching the video of them play Xenoblade Chronicles X, I could really see the complexities that I was missing out on, and I think that Xenoblade 3D is definitely going to be something that I'm going to sink my teeth into in the future. It's going to be over a long period of time. I don't think that I'm going to jump in and spend 30 hours a week on it or something like that. It's going to be a little bit at a time, but I'm really excited about Xenoblade Chronicles X. The combat looked fantastic. The vistas were beautiful, and I liked the way that the combat looked. I liked the way that they explained how the combat works, how they have different colors for different types of actions that your character can do. Then they showed the mechs and how you can get a mech and you can customize it. And at that point, my son came in the room and he was looking at it and he was like, "I'm going to make my mech blue and that's going to be so awesome." And they talked about how you can design the mech to have the weapons that you want, and it's a little bit different combat than the combat that you have when you're just a person instead of in the mech. All in all, Xenoblade Chronicles X is going on wish listed, guaranteed. I'd already told my son that I'll be buying it when it comes out. Here's the question though, when's it coming out? It looks like they have a lot of work to do for translating, or what do they call it, localizing it for the US. So we have that to look forward to. That's it for this week's edition of Run Jump Stomp. Thank you so much for listening. You can always interact with the show by sending an email to runjumpstomp@gmail.com. You can also get a hold of me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at Run Jump Stomp. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next week.